For this next session, we're going to be really getting into narrative and the art of narrative building. And what everyone is looking for, whether you're an individual or an artist, a brand, a company, is really telling authentic narratives and narratives that really connect with people and can drive change. And to get into this, we have two absolute experts in their field, Mariam Tavberidze, who is the vision behind the TBC Just Believe campaign, and the other, a Zeg legend, needs no introduction, a man of many talents, Joe Sabia.
Kamar Jobat.
Kamar Joba. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm really excited to be here today on the stage, especially when I have such a nice person sitting next to me. Thank you, Joe, for making it to this speech. I'm personally really excited to hear your stories about how we can create the narratives which will be really, meaningful on the one hand, and on the second hand, entertaining as well, because we all need entertainment, because we get sometimes tired from this life, from the everyday routines we are in. Let me start with the most popular question. Can you please tell us what was the idea behind of 73 questions? How you came up with the idea, how you came up with the format, and then how you made it to be so much engaging and repetitive as well.
Beautiful. I just want to start by saying how much of a pleasure it is to be back here at Zeg. Yes, give it up for Zeg. I am just so blown away by the energy here. It's so special. And to see all the speakers, like no marketing materials can possibly communicate how awesome this experience is. So my favorite thing is tonight at the dinner when all the speakers are there, just looking at all of these new people's faces, and they're all just like, what is this conference? So it's very magical. I'm really happy to be here. This is actually my fourth time here at Zeg since 2019, and I've been coming to Georgia for 20 years, and I love this place. So thank you so much for having me and the hospitality of being on the stage. So the most important, I guess the reason why 80% of the people are here is because of 73 questions, but I'm happy to tell the story about how that came together. So I was an independent video maker making YouTube videos for fun and for a living, and it was the year 2014, and my best friend, George from Georgia, where is he? There he is. Raise your hand, George from Georgia. Who would have thought that someone from Georgia is named George, but there you are. And he was visiting me with his wife, Sophie, and there was an opportunity to do something with Sarah Jessica Parker. So I remember we were in the Dominican Republic on a whale watching trip, and it hit me. Wait, what if I asked Sarah Jessica Parker so many questions really fast, and we have this incredible one-take execution? And sure enough,
nature, actually, the whales inspired you to create the format, right?
I think nature is a very stimulating creative force, and watching all those whales jump gave me the idea to ask Sarah Jessica Parker a lot of questions. So that's kind of how that happened. And I pitched the idea to her, and Sarah Jessica Parker said, this sounds great, let's do this in my home. And that was the first time that I learned that there's a difference between making a video with a celebrity and creating an experience with a celebrity, something that requires the interviewing subject to be a teammate and pull off something crazy together, because there's such a feat in that. It's such a challenge to go through 73 questions. So after we pulled it off, we look at the footage, and I remember saying to myself, I've never seen anything like this before. And I learned in that moment that sometimes the best videos and best experiences are ones where we look at the footage and say, I've never seen that before.
Oh, and your favorite video is for Sarah Jessica Parker, right? If you had to do it once again, who would it be?
That's a great question. Sarah Jessica Parker is special because that was the first time. But then you look at all the other people who've done the interview series, and if they have a personality that matches Sarah Jessica Parker, like Emma Stone, for example, those are the best episodes, because the format are for people who are good at comedy, they're good at acting, they have great personalities. And then there's other examples where I'm not going to mention their names, where when they do 73 questions, it feels a little bit strange and feels a little bit uncomfortable because they don't know how to turn it on for the camera as well.
And why it is 73 questions and not 84, for instance?
Why do you think 84 is a good number?
I don't know, it just popped up in my mind, so.
Well, maybe the next time we do it will be 84. 70, we were going to do 100 questions. 100 was too many. And I think when you're in any experience where you're trying to do something as difficult as that many questions in one take without stopping, you have to know your limitations. And looking at 100 questions, that's way too many. So I just deleted a bunch and I counted it. And I'm like, oh, 73 is an interesting number. I Googled 73 and there weren't a lot of results. I found out it was a prime number. That's a big prime number.
Okay, cool. I don't know what to comment on that. So the idea behind the 73 questions is to, create this clear voice of the celebrities, which will be at the same time warm, engaging, but on the other hand, it will show the person in its everyday atmosphere, right? So it feels more, personal, hearing them speak about the subjects, very basic questions sometimes, which shows their private nature as well. And that's why, for me, this format was engaging for that particular reason, that I see the person behind the celebrity as well, in their natural atmosphere. And it made me think that it was a very good match of the idea, the concept, and the channel itself, the format of the channel as well. And for instance, when you look right now to different social media outlets, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, YouTube, whatever. You are seeing all of this new type of content, which are primarily created by the individual contributors. And their main purpose is to entertain the audience. So, for instance, you see the guy's morning routine, putting his face into the jar full of water and the ice, and you are watching it for some reason. You don't get anything out of it, because I'm not the person to wake up the next day and do the same in order to improve my health or skin or whatever. But you are.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, you are watching it, right? And then you are watching the content, which is like eating entire cucumber, just making some kind of dish out of the cucumber, and it's satisfying. You watch it once, twice, 100 times. And for me personally, I'm the brand so-called strategist or brand lead. And when I go back to the work after seeing all of this very different contents which are engaging for no reason, I ask myself, when I demand from my team to create something meaningful, is there any space for the meaningful content or not?
That's a big question. I think it depends on how you want to define meaningful, because there's something meaningful in getting a team to make something together. That's meaningful.
Yeah, to create the space for collaboration. Yeah.
Even if no one watches it, even if it's about putting your head in freezing water, it's meaningful because everyone came together to achieve something, and that's really special. But if the goal is to create something that people watch, okay, if you're able to do that, then it's meaningful because you succeeded in that goal. If you're trying to create something that is more emotionally resonant and not silly, and you create that, then you succeeded, and that's meaningful because you achieved that goal. So it all comes down to, what are the goals? What are you trying to do as a team leader? What are you trying to do as a team? Because I think that everyone wants to make things that go viral, and everyone wants things that are perfectly there with the right emotional resonance. But sometimes it's okay to strip your goals back. For Sarah Jessica Parker, it was, let's just see what would happen if we did this thing. There were no other expectations beyond that. So the second I said cut, and we looked at the footage, it was meaningful because we did that together. And then it happened to be successful, and then it happened to turn into a series.
Yeah. And it also went viral as well.
It also went what?
Viral.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it did. And we were lucky for that. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that meaningful means just coming up with an idea that really excites you, that you're curious about. It makes you say, what would happen if we did this? And I think that's the meaningful aspect of it. I really think we need to look at a very core basis about what motivates us creatively, because the alternative is making nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're trying to reach people and make people feel things, you first have to just jump into that cold ice water and just get going and just start making things, and then you can figure out where you go from there.
Yeah, because like I have a team who is amazing, and they are doing amazing job with regards to the content creation, the channel management as well. And they all the time they are coming to me saying that they are showing some content pieces for the TikTok channel, and I basically don't like it.
How did you
Many
tell
times,
them?
yeah.
How did you tell them you don't like it?
I don't like it because I don't like the TikTok channel, and I always say that yes, of course. Like they are saying that Maguna, we have to follow the trend of the TikTok channel as well, and we have to make this trendy content, which will be then entertaining for the rest of the audience. But I am always saying that yes, we can do that as well, as you mentioned. But we can also find our own voice on the TikTok channel, which will be also entertaining for some particular reason. And one of the things I think we explored is that when you have the brand, you have two aspects of the brand. One is the aspect which comes from the brand positioning, how you behave with the audience outside. And then there is the internal brand aspect, how you behave with an internal audience, aka your employees, right? So as, for instance, each and every person behaves at home one way and at work another way, it's also the same for the brand. So what we found is that we have a lot of people at work, at TBC, who are really amazing, who have a lot of potential, who have their own voice. Sometimes they don't know it yet, but they have their own voice. And it's a very good idea to bring these people on different channels, in this case, the TikTok channel, and giving them some kind of, direction that we want you to increase the financial literacy and teach people how to use mobile applications, for instance. And they do it perfectly. So we don't need to search for this type of people outside the organization. We have it internally, and they are also internal brand voice, and they can do it as best as nobody else can do. Yeah. So that's the practice I think we all managed to discover and explore it even more, and it really works perfectly, and it really delivers something meaningful as well. So like education, people need it in the financial sector. And also, there is another thing about the brand that it's very important to not disregard what type of content is working on different channels, but at the same time, when you are a big brand, you have to disregard it sometimes. You have to even disregard the competition, which sometimes tells you what to do and how to do, because there is a demand. You have to, somehow follow that demand. And in that sense, the main idea of brand being present on different markets, from my perspective, is to curate the ideas which will transform into something really valuable for the public. And for me personally, the hardest thing is to understand which ideas will matter in the future and which not, because there are plenty of them, right? So you have to think about the resources you have and pick and choose whatever will work on that. And that's the most hard part for me personally to understand from the very beginning which idea will have the most impact. Yeah. How do you have anything like any experience where you had the idea, for instance, and it didn't work in practice?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing you're talking about there is that whenever you're in a team environment, there's going to be a team leader and there's going to be a team. And for me at Condé Nast, I was responsible for making thousands of videos for GQ and Vanity Fair and Vogue and Wired and Architectural Digest. And the thing that was great about our situation is that the team was able to make whatever it needed to make to try to get as many views as possible on YouTube. And that was 8 years ago. What I realized as a team leader, I was in my mid-30s at the time, and my team was mostly in their 20s. The thing I realized about young people is that they're really excited to make their ideas. They love their ideas so much, and they're very creative, but what I ended up doing was I ended up asking them questions like, why do you want to make this video? And then they would say, because it's fun. It's a fun idea. Well, okay, well, maybe we need a little bit more than just it's a fun idea. Like, give me evidence that it's going to succeed on YouTube. What else have you found on YouTube that is similar, that has also shown success? What have you found on YouTube that's similar that has not found success? So I'm basically putting this younger creator through a really challenging boot camp of making them fight really hard for the idea that they believe in. Because fun is not enough if you're trying to create videos that people watch. At TBC Bank, you have limited resources, you have limited team, limited budget, and you can't just make everything. So what we would do is that we would tell all of the people on the team, write down 100 ideas, what do you believe in most will succeed, and pick 99 ideas that are not as good as one. Sometimes it's what you don't make that's as important as what you do make. And the ideas should battle themselves. And the last one standing is the one, and you place a bet on it. But the work is not done yet, because once you make the video, it's so important to go back and do a debrief to say, did it meet our goals? What will we do differently? And that makes a team better. It's a real academy. Like, do you feel that you have a culture where people are very interested and curious about asking why things succeed? Because I think that's really important.
Yeah. It really is. Curiosity, I think, is the key of making something interesting, because sometimes people say that the curiosity is something which relates more to younger generation. And when the time passes and when you're getting older, people sometimes think that you lose this sense of curiosity and exploration. But it's not that. I don't know, in my case, for instance, as older I get, as curious I am, I even want to understand the topics which has nothing to do with my current profession. So yeah, it really gives you the empowerment to explore more, even inside your imagination, and find your own voice, which you can then translate into something else. And when you were speaking about the ideas, I remembered one of my favorite projects. I think my team members will agree on that. We had the campaign for 8th of March, which is the International Day of Women. And, in Georgia, it's the date when almost every big brand is doing a campaign dedicated to empowerment of women, equal rights, etc., etc. And it's very hard to, define what you have to say as a brand, because there are a lot of different brands who are saying the same. I mean, we are playing at the same territory, right? So last year there was the insight, which was, from my perspective, brilliant, that on 8th of March, everybody, women, men, children, they are buying flowers to present that flower to female representatives, right? And it's kind of, the routine you are doing on 8th of March, and nothing special is there. But actually, we found out that when you are buying the flower, you are buying the flower from the women who are in this business, who are going in different areas of Georgia, taking these flowers from the nature, then selling it to the people, so they will present it to their female family members or friends or whatever. And we came up with this communication message which said that women are on the both side of the flowers. So they are the givers and they are the takers. And it was such a nice insight. It was such an empowering story, because we made the video which was telling the story of the women who are, I don't know how it's in English, who are taking these flowers from the woods, from the fields, and then they are selling it. And it was really empowering, it was really exciting, it was really engaging, as well as really emotional. And the funniest thing was that when, at the first time I was brought with this idea, our agency came up and said that we have a brilliant idea for the AIDS merch campaign. I didn't believe it. I couldn't understand why it was interesting, why for the audience such a story would be really interesting. And I was really against to make the campaign about this whole story. And I believed in people that time. So I believed in my team, I believed the agency, and I said, okay, if you are so strong in your belief, then I will follow you, of course. And I'm so happy that I did that, because that was one of the most brilliant content pieces we have made together. And public, of course, loved it, and we got a very high engagement, etc. So yeah, sometimes we miss an opportunity to catch the idea, which is really brilliant. And as a leaders, I think we have to think about and hear the voices of our team members, our friends, our partners. Otherwise, many brilliant things might get lost.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really great that a company can be vulnerable and go after that type of subject material. I think that's really beautiful. Just last week, I was at a big piano competition in Texas, and there were these amazing pianists who were announced as finalists before they finished their final, performances. And 12 hours after the finalists were announced, I called up their moms and asked their moms questions about their sons, because there were 3 young men who made it to the finals, and the boys had no idea that I was doing this. So I interviewed questions, and then I took those answers, and then I sat the pianists down one by one, and I told them, hey, I just want to let you know, 4 hours ago I interviewed your mom about you. And you should have seen their faces. They're like, you did what? And I asked your mom a question like, what piece of music do you play that makes her cry? What do you think it is? Oh, is it Mozart? And then I play the clip. It was Mozart. Mozart makes me cry. And you should see his face. He's like, oh my God, I got that right. I knew what piece of music makes my mom cry. And then there were other questions. Like I asked your mom, what did you do right as a mom? And then I had him guess what his mom said, and then it played the clip, and one pianist got really emotional. And the thing that's really beautiful about this experience is that I think a lot of it comes down to effort. Like, what are you gonna do that you're gonna sweat and bleed for? And it takes a lot of effort to try to get moms on the phone from Russia to all around the world to answer these questions. So you're not making a video, you're building an experience. Like, this goes back to Sarah Jessica Parker. And I think that in any environment where someone feels like they're sitting down for something that they've never seen before, they never experienced before, it adds a level of emotional vulnerability. And I'm always trying to get that with my videos. I'm trying to put people in a very safe space where they can be vulnerable, but also like you're giving them an experience that puts a mirror up to themselves and it allows for them to see themselves in a way that is surprising. Because it's one thing to get asked piano questions all day, but it's another to walk in a room and have your mom talk about you. And I think that it's so important to humanize people, to not just, we can't all see each other as just one thing that we're defined by. There's so much dimensionality to all of us. And I think what I would love about your campaign is that you're showing more dimensions to the people that you film. It's not, you're not showing them in a typical way. And that's something I really try to do with a lot of the work and projects that I get involved in is what light can we add on someone so you can see more of the dimensions to them.
I remembered your project, the Roger Federer one.
Yeah.
Because like when you are now saying that you have to, create something out of the emotions as well as like seeing different angles, the different dimensions of people in order to understand that they're humane, they're humans. For Roger Federer, what was interesting for me personally is that we have seen a lot of different documentaries, right? And we have seen the archives materials like which are then translated into the story about the people or about the period of some certain period of the history of the country, but you made it a bit different, adding the angle how Roger himself was in this journey together with his baggage and luggage of emotions, because we all know that he is a very emotional guy.
He cries a lot. Roger cries a lot.
So yeah, it was a really interesting story, and I would like to hear about it more from your perspective, how you managed to make a documentary, which is the standard format, etc., to something different, which is really a humane story of the person who is living the sports.
Yes. So I interviewed Roger Federer 6 years ago around this time for 73 questions. And that's when I met him, and we had a really good relationship from that.
So everything starts from 73 questions.
Yeah, everything is 73 questions, basically. It's a prime number, and it's also everything that everything begins with. So we had a good experience, and then 3 years later, he was secretly looking to retire in something like 5 days. That's it. So I met with his team. I talked to Roger, and he said, I'm going to put out a message on Instagram that's going to announce my retirement. And he said, should we film something around this? I'm like, yes, you should film something around this. Why wouldn't you? And I think for Roger, he was very sensitive to this idea of not wanting to have this like big shiny commercial that announces his retirement. So what I said was, it doesn't have to be like Derek Jeter from the New York Yankees retiring with a big Nike ad, paying $1 million to have this big like farewell. It doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
What we could do is me and someone else can have 2 cameras, and we can just go to your home and just film you and watch you as you go through this. That was it. And then I told him, this is a good tip, is that if you ever think that someone is not going to want to put something out to the world, what you tell them is, and if you don't like it, you never have to release it. The world doesn't have to see it. And that sold it. Like Roger was like, wait, so you're saying that you guys can film me, and if I don't like it, it doesn't need to go out to the world? I'm like, absolutely. So of course we go out there and we film his wife, we film his kids, we film the emotions of putting something on Instagram and then leading up to the last match he's ever going to play in his life. And then halfway through, I know something he doesn't know, that this is too good to not be seen by the public. So what I did was that I put together this 1 hour edit, and then I showed it to him, and I said, Roger, I know that this is never going to see the light of day, but I thought you'd want to see a 1 hour edit that I put together. So he watched it with his wife, and he gets emotional watching it. And the first thing out of his mouth is, if this leaked out to the world tomorrow, I wouldn't care. And I'm like, yes, it worked. It worked. So at that moment, he said, let's put this out to the world. So sometimes, like what I've learned is that trust is everything. It's like, especially if you're working with emotionally vulnerable material, it's so important to have trust and to be there and to never break that trust. But I think the other thing is to always go above and beyond with your opportunities, because he was expecting an 8-minute edit and I gave him 1 hour. I overwhelmed him with hundreds of hours of work and preparation, and that ended up creating something that changed his mind. So I think it's just a really powerful example of what labor and love can do in completely making someone change their mind about something.
Yeah, it is, and it is a very good tip to tell the person that if it's not working, we're not going to release it, because they feel more safe, more comfortable, they build the trust.
That could have backfired. He could have been like, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen," and then I would be sad, and I would start crying.
There is also one more insight to that. Even though you are doing the standard format, which was done in the past thousands of times, you can add something which will make it special, right? Which will make it unique. And I want to talk about TBC's Independence Day campaign, which we had this year. You know, in Georgia, I'm sure you are familiar with this, that Independence Day is a big theme, because we care about this day. We also are in the situation that we see some threats towards the independence, and we try to protect Georgia and its own independence. And this is why this day is so special for a lot of people. And again, a lot of brands are doing the campaigns, a lot of brands are creating the content to tribute this day. And it's also very hard to speak about the independence from different angles, because it's an Independence Day. It has the history, it has the past. We know the people who are heroes, who dedicated their life, their, everything to this country and to its independence. But you told the story once, you told the story twice. What else you can do, right? I know the history of Georgia. People know where we come from. Reminding us once again that we have a history of fighting against many different enemies to have our own independence. Okay, we know that, and we said that let's concentrate on the present and let's concentrate on the future. And this year we celebrated the stubbornness of Georgian nation. Because if you think about the history, you will see a lot of connections between those heroes who are fighting yesterday, the day before yesterday, even fighting today. And this commonality is really nothing but the stubbornness. And really nothing but stubbornly believing in the idea that your country deserves to be independent. And the campaign about celebrating Georgia's spirit of stubbornness really beat up all of the social media records. It was the most engaging campaign ever made by any brand. And I think the reason behind this is that we always can tell the same story from a different angle. And we always can find something which is relatable to everybody. Yeah. And make sure that we celebrate that thing with the people who somehow resonate with the stubbornness, and make sure that we also empower the struggles, the fights those people really have in their everyday life. And it was really emotional. And I think that, that's a good example how you can tell the same story from a different perspective and from a different angle as well.
Yeah. Sometimes things hit differently when you're inside a climate of something. Like you don't even have to talk about the thing for everyone to think about the thing. And you're walking a fine line too, because there really is a line that your responsibility is to not go over. And you need to reach people emotionally in a way where everyone really does understand what you're talking about, even if you're not. So I really do applaud you for that. That's a very hard thing, because no one wants to be like Pepsi with Kendall Jenner offering Pepsis to protesters in that worst commercial I think we all have ever seen. No one wants that. It is a brand nightmare to do things that are inauthentic. So to create something authentic in a climate that's challenging is one of the most difficult things anyone running a brand can do. So, but it takes courage. Like you have to try things. You have to experiment.
Yeah, I always say that, like for me, being a leader of I don't know, like enoughly big team. I always say that if you are not afraid of doing something, so if you are in your own comfort zone, for instance, you are planning the campaign, you know the creative concept of this campaign, and you are perfectly safe. You don't think about anything that might go wrong, and you are happy. You are just waiting to the day to come to launch this specific campaign. Then maybe it's not the right idea, maybe it's not the right campaign. From the brand perspective, of course, because we are a brand which has a lot of different responsibility. We are in the banking, so whatever we do, where we spend our resources should be meaningful. It should create something, the movement, the trend, the whatever, like it should give the inspiration to people or something else. So I always measure the possible success of the idea or the creative concept based on how much I fear that something will go wrong.
Yeah.
And finding that fine line, as if you are in Blade Runner, it's really hard, especially in Georgia, when there are a lot of different risks from all around the sites. Yeah.
There was a project we had to do for the company Bose headphones. Bose are big headphones, at least in America. I'm not sure how big they are in Europe. But Bose wanted to do something about the fact that in American music making, only 2.8% of music is created by female producers. And they said, we want to create a campaign that creates awareness around the fact that there's not enough opportunities for women producing music. So we thought about it. It's like, okay, like what can we do here? One approach is to have female producers sit down and talk about how something needs to be done, or to tell their stories about producing. And we thought that we had the opportunity to do something a little bit more exciting. What if we took female producers and gave them 1 hour to make a track with another famous female artist? So it's two people working together to make a track in 1 hour. And it was a big challenge that we put them through. And it ended up being really powerful because there was connection between the producer and the artist, and they ended up making amazing music in just 60 minutes. That's it. So this campaign ended up being this really internet-friendly, great format, which taps into other formats on the internet where people are trying to do things in a limited time frame. But then at the end, there was messaging where they talked about the 2.8%. But it's not like we went all in on 2.8%. We did something that can grab attention. We did something that can show off their superpowers. These are extraordinarily talented people. Why just have them talk? Let's get them to make music under unusual constraints. And I think that was another lesson, at least for Bose, to say, if you're trying to do something important, like it's okay to have some fun and to flex some superpowers in the process.
I think it's crucial to have fun when you're doing something, because without fun, without dedication, without love of whatever you are doing, it's really hard to achieve any type of result. So yeah, fun is a crucial part, especially in the creative industry and content making as well.
But it's hard though, because sometimes subject material, it's hard to have fun with. Like what this country is going through right now, it's very tone deaf to just have fun with the subject material. It's very serious. But what I do think is important is for everyone who's interested in making content or telling stories, especially if they want to make change, is to be inspired by what works on the internet and say, and really dissect it and really try to examine it and say, what are the elements in why this content is working, why it's traveling, why it's getting a lot of views, and study it. This is especially important for journalists right now, because journalists are so good at telling the story they need to do, but sometimes you can package it in a way where your stories can travel a little bit deeper. For example, I do some work with UNICEF, and when the Ukrainian war happened, there was this immediate effect of refugees crossing the border into Poland and Romania and elsewhere. So I remember we were talking about like what journalists can do if they have their cell phone, if they're at the border of Poland and refugees are coming in. Well, the first thing is to just document and have stories be told, right? But then I remember we were talking about how if you really have only 5 minutes and you don't have a lot of time, what's something you can do that just as a concept resonates in a way that feels like the internet will possibly recognize it a little bit more? And the idea that we came up with was these people crossing the border are going to be carrying bags, their personal possessions. After you talk with them, maybe what you do before you leave is to say, can you show me what's in your bag, right? So a few journalists ended up doing this, where they basically just laid out everything that the children were carrying, that their moms or their parents were carrying. And it brought things to a different emotional level. Because this idea of what's in your bag, where I come from, a bunch of celebrities are doing that for Vogue. But if you have people who are not famous, you have real people in this extraordinarily challenging situation do the same type of format, it's a different type of resonance. And it's a different type of stickiness to the idea that really makes people connect with the situation a little bit differently. Yeah. So it's just I'm thinking about this example about how it's really important for all of us. And I don't think this is a gimmick. I really don't. I think that this is just being very sensible about how algorithms right now are looking for types of content and human stories that stand out and that may represent themselves in a different way than everything else. And I think it's a challenge, but it's an opportunity for everyone to think about simple, cheap things you could do in 5 minutes that just help your opportunities stand out a little bit more.
I remembered one of your projects, Billie Eilish, because like when I watched that, I was thinking, wow, I want to do something like that with brand ambassadors we have in the pool. It was really interesting to see how you can, in the long run, how you can watch how a person is growing up, changing, adapting to different types of environments in different periods of time. Yeah. And you just also can relate to the past content, previous ones. And it's pretty amazing, because you don't only show the person in their highest spotlight, but you also show the person from the beginning when they didn't know that they would achieve that type of spotlight.
No idea.
It's crazy. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Just for those who may not know, Billie Eilish, when she was 15 years old, no one really knew who she was. She had like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and she was trying to become a big musician. And we had this concept where we said, what if we filmed an interview with her and then just held on to the footage and didn't release it?
Why you decided to film her? Because she was not popular at that time, right?
It's because I had a friend who worked at her music label who said, I would bet everything on Billie Eilish to be big. Well, that was the best prediction that guy ever made, because she did become the biggest thing ever. So I thank him for that. So we filmed these questions. Like, what advice do you give yourself a year ago? What advice would you give yourself 1 year ago? What dream do you have for 5 years from now? So I filmed all this stuff to this 15-year-old Billie Eilish, held onto the footage, and then waited a year. And I remember it was on October 18th, like 1 week before October 18th, we look at her Instagram and it's 6.3 million followers, and we were all like, oh my God, because we didn't even think about her for a year. And then here we are realizing that she became a different person, much more famous, very much different as well. So I sat her down and I asked the same exact questions. She forgot everything she said a year ago, and it was amazing watching this transformation of someone who was not famous at all, who was bubbly and somewhat naive and ready to take over the world, and then suddenly someone on the other side of the screen who is a little bit more sullen, sad, but more aware of her fame and the impact she's having on the world. So this was a tradition that we continued every single year to this day. I think like this year is going to be like the 9th time that I've interviewed Billie Eilish. But the one thing that I want to bring up as an example is the power of taking formats and translating them to have different effects, especially for social good. And because that project was successful, what we did was we said, what else can we do with transformation? Where else can we interview someone knowing they're about to go through an extraordinary life change, and then interview them again to see just how much their life changed?
You know, for me, when I watched it, I was thinking that it's based on the inside, which we all share, which is like, I don't know, parents taking video footage of their children each and every year, and then watching it after a while to see how their children developed, right?
Yes.
Everybody has it. Everybody has the family albums. Everybody has the video footage. Well, I mean, children from 90s might not have it because we didn't have video at that period of time in Georgia, but like most people do, right? And then when they review it, they personally see the progress they made.
Yeah.
Throughout these years, the changes of the personality, because we all change over the time. Nobody can say that I'm the same person as I was like 10 years before. Even our values change,
Yes.
right? There is the change happening in how we handle the situations, how we handle the pressure. So yeah, it's really amazing. I highly encourage everybody to see it and think about somehow integrating or implementing that format in the brand's routine or in the content creation as well.
Yeah, and absolutely. And what we did with this format was we looked at someone who was in jail for 20 years. And we said, what if we interviewed them? Because they're gonna be coming out of jail in a month. So what if we did an interview where we asked them to talk about what they think life is gonna be like when they're out? So we can go back and we can interview them again to have them respond to the footage. So we did that with someone who was in jail, and it became this extremely human thing that didn't involve a famous person. And this is the power of taking things that work with celebrities and then saying, okay, like what else can we do with this really powerful format? With 73 Questions, it's not just celebrities anymore because there's thousands of people who do this for themselves. The first ever person who ever took a 73 question and made it for themselves was a Georgian designer in 2015. It was crazy. I turn on the computer and I see someone in Georgia doing 73 questions. I had never seen that before. So there's a light bulb that went above my head. I'm like, oh my God, like this is bigger than Vogue celebrities. Yeah. And then sure enough, politicians are doing it, like priests are doing it, teenagers everywhere are doing it. So people from all around the world, and it really shows you the power of ideas that travel.
It does.
Yeah.
You said that you believed the person from the music industry to do the Billie Eilish project when she was not popular.
Yeah.
Let's touch the subject of belief, because I also mentioned that I didn't buy the idea, but I believed in the possibilities, opportunities of my own teams. And recently at TBC we launched the Just Believe campaign, and it was a quite interesting journey because we didn't have main brand communication message, which is the statement brands are making in order to give people more perspective and understanding who they are, what they value, what they are creating, what they are trying to achieve. And we didn't have one, and we were planning to create one for a quite long time. And as the situation evolved in Georgia, we are all part of this community, and we got this, roller coaster feelings of very positive, when you believe that everything will be okay, when you believe that everything will be great in this country, and then the second day you are just feeling hopeless. And then we explored this idea further, and we understood that whatever the people on personal level are achieving is basically because they believed in themselves, or they believe in other people, or sometimes they just got inspired by the stories of different people who believed in something and they followed that path until they made a certain achievement. So we really understand that if you just believe in something, it doesn't matter. It could be the idea, it could be the concept, it could be your own personal manifesto. Believing something will give you the chance to overcome all of the difficulties, to overcome all of the possible challenges you will face throughout your life, and you will achieve it. And it's working on both levels. It's working on the personal level, and it's working on group level as well. So there might be people who believe in the same idea. They unite, they do something, they achieve it. So I personally also believe in this manifesto, and it really gave me the power and inspiration to catch myself when I'm going into wrong direction, feeling a bit hopeless, to give myself a chance to look around, to look at the people who surround me, look at the developments that surround me, and if I can't believe in the second in myself and my personal strengths, then I would find the person who is next to me in whom I'm gonna believe, and it will give me the hope back and also the passion to, follow the amazing life we will all have together in the future. Yeah. I think we are.
What time? I don't even know what time it is.
It's already the time to get the questions, I suppose, right? From the audience.
Sure.
Thank you very much again for the
Thank
amazing
you.
talk and experience, as you mentioned.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it on?
Oh.
First of all, thank you very much for your very interesting, engaging talk and all the ideas and formats and ways of engaging people. It's very, very fascinating. So please don't think my question is somehow dismissive of all of that. It's fantastic. My question is that, as we all know, we live in a fast-moving, very screen-saturated world where some of the younger generations have like a screen time of double digits per day. When AI analyzes all the minute psychological profiling of us and can fit the stories and fit things precisely and hit the point. So all this human effort to find a way of expressing ideas through format, through some angle, etc. Are we outrun by AI? What's the hope for human storytelling, which can be slow, no visuals, and not designed to reach the highest click or whatever views, etc. What's the hope for that storytelling in your view? Thank you.
No, thank you for that question. I think that is the big elephant in the room. What do we do about the fact that there's AI that's going to change every way that every creator makes things? There's screen time, especially with young people, which is a huge problem. I first just want to say that I've never felt more like in my life like I want to throw my phone in a lake. I've deleted my social accounts.
I will agree
so
on that.
I think hope begins with me. My hope is that I already hate it and I don't use it anymore. I'm not on TikTok. I deleted Instagram from my phone, and I'm talking to more and more people who do that. The next thing is that in America, at least, young people are now being, in certain states, banned from using phones in schools, right? So I think that people are waking up to the dangers of too much screen time. And I think hopefully, I have hope that the past 10 years is just this really unfortunate situation where a generation has to be treated as experiments for psychological projects from huge social media companies. But but aside from all of that, I think what remains is the potential for humans to want to connect, to create things that matter, to create things that stand out. And I think AI presents a really interesting challenge, because how are we going to know if humans made it? How are we going to know, to what degree AI is influenced versus it being more human-made than AI? And I do think that maybe the hope is that we're going to become very skeptical of so much that it's going to just make us want to go through that effort to have people prove that they really did put their humanity into something, that they put their human fingerprints on a project. And I think that's going to make us appreciate the things we make more, in spite of the fact that there's so much AI stuff. So I do have hope and I have faith that we will appreciate human-led projects with a deeper connection and resonance, because there's so much AI stuff. I really do hope for that. I get inspired by young people being Luddites, by being skeptical of what, I really have a deeper faith in humanity than other people may because of AI. I really do. So anyway, that's my rant about that. I hope have hope with me. Have hope with me. Everyone else is like, oh, I don't know about that.
Any more questions?
I also just want to shout out some of the creators in the room. We have Aaron Rasmussen, we have Caesar Kuriyama. I was talking with Adam Faze last night and the guys there. These are people who are some of the most ingenious creators, taking what they're good at, using their superpowers, and using these platforms to express themselves. And I really hope that you listen to what they're going to say and what they're going to speak about, because there's so many people who are doing incredible things, and it all begins with, what am I obsessed about? What do I love? What am I good at? I'm just going to start making things. And you all have the chance to do that. You all have that superpower in you. Gravitate towards what you love. Stay away from what you don't love. And it's really inside all of you to just make things that matter. So, I'm sorry, I'm like giving speeches right now. I think we're done.
No, somebody has a question, I think.
Oh, we have
a
one more?
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Hi, thank you for sharing the insights for today. So yeah, previous speakers mentioned that it's really important to live your life, to start writing your book and share your stories. I want to ask from the brand perspectives, what it takes to create the brand big enough to start joining the conversation, social conversations, not like the weird guy who just randomly joined the group chat, because it's like a big challenge for the new generations.
It's actually a very good question, and I don't have ultimate answer, because I'm sure you have read a lot of different books about the brand strategy and how you should create the meaningful and the big brands. It's all true on the paper, but when you go in a real world, sometimes it's totally different. So what it takes to create the brand, which can be part of the social aspect of the people's lives, is the dedication, first of all, to want to make some certain changes. So you have to be with your team, with the team who is contributing to building this brand, pretty sure that you have the power and you have the voice which can create something meaningful for the audience. And these meaningful things are the most difficult to find, and you have to explore as much as possible to find your voice first, and then to have the opportunity and also be able to go public and engage with social aspects of the communities, the public, the country, etc. So basically to say, in a few words, it's just dedication and sense of purpose, the love of the community you are part of, and really hard work to achieve that meaningful part of the conversations. Thank you very much.
We're good.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks.